Welcome back to the weekly news, a Roundup. And today we're going to talk once again about surge pricing. We brought this up, and I wanted to bring in a couple of extra articles and put a few things that we've discussed before in context, especially adding that there is a new patent that Wally World happens to have. So I thought that'd be an interesting thing to discuss. So, of course, the entire idea here, the controversy started when Walmart decided they're going to put the digital price tags into all of their stores. And they said, well, this allows us to change the prices on things really quickly rather than having, a army of employees marching through the stores manually changing prices, which I completely I agree with them that it would save that. Now, does that mean that they're going to have less employees? Probably. If they happen to have a bunch of employees that served no other major purpose but to go around the store and change the prices, well, that technology just wiped out a few more jobs. And so there's always that. But the concern is that they could use these in a couple different things. One of those terms is surge pricing. One of those terms is dynamic pricing or personalized pricing. And so the difference here, let me go ahead and get our definitions out of the way. So surge pricing would mean it's a really hot day, so we're going to instantaneously push a button, and across the store, everything that's cold, like pre-chilled drinks, ice cream, anything like that, immediately goes up, let's say 10%. So I can make a bunch more money if it's super hot outside. If I look out the weather, it's like, oh man, there's something coming. You might raise the price on disaster stuff, even though that is actually illegal in most cases. But to say some stores don't really do that. So that's kind of surge pricing, where something happens that would cause certain products to want to move more, and the store can unilaterally raise the prices really quickly. And they allege we're not doing that, but they have now the technology to do that. Now, the second is called dynamic pricing or personalized pricing. This is where you are tracking people around, and based on what you know about the person, with all of the data tracking, based on all of that information that you know, you offer them a price that is specific, personalized to them, or dynamic to all of the other price offerings. So there was the case that we covered this a while back where, was it ProPublica? I forget exactly who it was that did the report. I don't think it was ProPublica. It was somebody else. But they did a report, and they basically brought in a bunch of people in one city who all used Instacart, and they had them all buy the exact same things from the exact same store. And then they compared all of the prices, and it turned out that a number of them paid up to 20% more for many of the same products. And so the question is, was this randomly? And when asked, the Instacart said, well, this was random price changes to do models on what people would buy. But there's a concern that some of these price changes could have been based on profiling, knowing what people tend to buy and stuff like that. And that's really the question we have, is what is going on. So let's go ahead and chat about this. First, we want to go on over to New York City. Lord knows why we would want to go there. But anyway, you want to go over to New York City. And before we get mugged, we're going to talk about the limits on biometric tracking. So in New York City, they want to limit biometric tracking. This is why Wegmans not too long ago came out and admitted that they are using facial recognition on people to target high-profile shoplifters. So Wegmans actually came out and said that it was probably because law compelled them to. So the question is, are Wegmans around the country doing that and only announcing it in places that they are forced to? That's a question we have. But New York City lawmakers are pushing to ban private businesses from using any biometric tools like voice and facial recognition software to track the public. While the desire to use surveillance technology in stores to fight shoplifting is understandable, lawmakers and privacy advocates are worried the data could be repurposed to profile specific customers. Okay, so this is another one of these cases. Once again, we have a very left-leaning, very blue city that wants to say, hey, there's a big problem with shoplifting. The stores have to do something. I agree with that, because calling the police is not often the option. In fact, simple retail theft is so marginalized now. Most stores, the reason we're seeing a lot of decline in the reporting of it is most stores know the police won't do anything. But still, the first year after they basically decriminalized a lot of crimes, which happened in, I think it was January 1, 2021, New York City basically put in a no bail policy. Effectively, unless you were actually caught in the act, like the body is still warm and the knife is still dripping, they will put you in jail. Other major, we're talking major crimes. Even if you were caught stealing a car, they would not take you to jail. They would basically arrest you, detain you, give you a court summons, and let you on your merry way. That became policy in New York City. I think it was January 1, 2021. You can look that up. Don't be like, oh, there's this right-wing guy going off again. No, look it up. Look it up. It's a matter of fact, okay? I think it was 2021. It could have been 2022, but I'm pretty sure it was 2021. The year after that, and I think it was 2021 because in 2022 we got the crime reports. In 2022, there were over 6,000 arrests for simple shoplifting in New York City. You say, wow, which is kind of remarkable, being is that they're not taking anybody to jail. They're not taking these people to jail. They're showing up, they're putting them in handcuffs, they're identifying them, they're issuing them a court summons, and they're sending them along their way. No more short trips out to the county lockup, awaiting an arraignment in the morning with the judge. And this is seen as compassionate. Well, here's the truth behind those numbers. Of those 6,600 or so arrests, only 427 unique individuals were actually arrested. So think of the manpower it takes to arrest and detain and have court for all of these cases. Whereas it would have been better handled to lock those people up and then give them some time for their theft. I get, okay, you stole $100 worth of stuff from the store. Okay, $100 worth of stuff, we're going to send you to jail for 6 months. Do I need to quote like the debate in The Dark Knight? Think of what you could do with 18 months of clean streets, But that's the thing. So they have so decriminalized crime in New York City, the stores now have to respond with facial recognition to track the people that they know to be shoplifters because they're not hauling them away. It's like, oh, that shoplifter's back. He's probably going to steal another thing for the 777th time this year. So I understand why the stores are doing that. Because the crazy radical policies in the cities where they are at are compelling them to do this dystopian stuff because you got to do something. Now, if the criminals were actually in jail, they wouldn't be in there. Wegmans may not be looking for a solution to their crime problem. Just a thought. So, now New York is, now that Wegmans is like, hey, we're using facial recognition to find them, New York City's like, no, you can't do that either. Now, I don't want Wegmans to use facial recognition, so I have to kind of support this bill, but I want to caveat to say I think we should lock the criminals up for a while too, So they're basically want a gathering so let me restart this. This section here, why gathering it is considered bad. So we talked about what it's doing. Why is it bad? The worst reason here is it is unique and hard to erase identifiers. Once these things get leaked out, you can't delete it. This is why with all these data leaks, I'm so irritated. We're like, don't worry, no financial data was taken. Dude, I don't care. If the financial data is taken, the first time I see that credit card's invalid, I call the company, they reverse the charge, cancel the card, and send me a new one. You can't exactly do that with my face, my fingerprints, my social security number. Even my phone number and my email are excessively annoying to change. So they want to collect this data, and the problem is that it now can be replicated across multiple databases, and you just can't get rid of it. There's obviously the accuracy and bias concerns. There's the lack of meaningful consent. Just having a sign up there. And one of the biggest problems that they mentioned down here is people can submit their biometrics or forego basic services. Okay, it's one thing if I have to submit my biometrics into your nightclub. It's another thing if I have to submit my biometrics to buy the basic food I need to eat. So I keep an eye out for flock cameras, right? And I went the other day and I was driving into an Aldi's. So this Aldi's was in a parking lot kind of shared with a Lowe's. Well, every Lowe's store right now, I haven't looked into this in detail, but every single Lowe's I've been in around the country has flock cameras up now. They must have started a partnership probably about 6 months to a year ago, because about 6 months to a year ago, I started noticing flock cameras in every single Lowe's parking lot across the country. Well, I go in and I'm like, oh, there's a flock camera there. I'm like, I need groceries. Okay, so I go over here and, I go to my Aldi's and things. Well, I look at the camera more on my way out, and I notice it's kind of angled into the parking lot more into Lowe's. It looks as though it's angled in such a way that if you're just coming in and going to Aldi's, you're not going to get flocked up. But if you go into Lowe's, you're going to get flocked up. So that's an interesting thing to look at. Like, if I knew that was there in advance and I had knowledge going into the city and say, oh, there's a flock camera right there monitoring when I go to this grocery store, I would shop somewhere else. And that's one of the things that they mentioned somewhere. I think it was this article saying, one of their solutions, hey, if you know they're doing this kind of stuff, go to alternatives that are not. And that might be better. So what is surveillance pricing? This basically becomes tied to your loyalty card. This is why you never use those Shoppers Club cards. If you got one of those Shoppers Club cards, cut that bad boy up. All right. But I might save 10 cents on gas. Find a cheaper gas station. Okay. So the loyalty cards are used to track all of your purchases, and they use that data in interesting ways. I didn't pull it out, but there's that old King County case from over a decade ago, like probably 15 years ago now, where the city's like, we need more revenue. They bought the Shoppers Club data and cross-referenced it with people who bought pet supplies but didn't have a pet license, and then sent threatening letters to those people. That's the type of stuff they can do with that data. The problem with surveillance pricing is now what if they take that biometric data and, unbeknownst to you, they attach it to you in the store, which is kind of what this guy is. Oh, not that guy. This guy here alleged. He goes into a Walmart, buys something with cash, and then he gets an email asking to review the product that he just bought with cash. And he says, A, I did not have my phone with me, and B, I do not even have the Walmart app on the phone. Now, I would still like to ask this guy one other question. Do you have a Walmart account at all? Because if you have a Walmart account at all and you've ever used that at a store, Walmart would probably tie that account to facial recognition. But someone like myself who does not have a Walmart account, they might know who I am with like those old Facebook ghost profile type things, but they do not necessarily have any information because I've never given them information about me. And that raises the question with this guy here, as he basically goes in. He says, my phone was not on my person. I don't even think I have my headphones on my person. I didn't have any electronic devices on me. He said that in a clip that went viral with 3.2 million viewers. I do not have the Walmart app on my phone, he said. I've never had it on my phone. And further, I did not have my phone with me on this trip. Now, I have a question. Did he ever have a Walmart account and use it in association with a store that they will be able to tie his biometrics in or not? That's kind of the question I have. So this guy here, basically there's some discussion about that point, and that's the problem, is that if these loyalty cards get tied to your facial recognition, that is a fundamental problem. And the surveillance pricing allows them to target you to say, hey, this is a person that always buys this stuff. Like this guy here is addicted to coffee. When we see him come in, let's jack up the price of coffee because he's likely to buy coffee and he's likely to not care what the price is. That's what surveillance pricing or personalized or dynamic pricing is. I forget there's that third way they say it as well. So the thing that I contend personally is that it's very difficult for a store to accomplish true surveillance pricing in the store. I don't think they have the moving stuff for this. If they did, you'd have a problem. What if a high economic demographic person goes through the store at the same time a poor person, and they both tend to buy coffee? What's the price tag has to show something. What's it going to show? And what if I'm paying attention to those and I'm grabbing the coffee when it says $6.99 and I'm a vigilant shopper like I am, and I take it up and it says $8.99? That's going to cause a problem. And so I don't think they have the necessary technological means to fully accomplish surveillance pricing now in the typical way we do grocery stores. But that is changing. I'm going to get into that as our last story here. Actually, it's more of a how-to guide, but it conveys exactly what I was thinking. So data from in-store security systems also collect biometrics, facial recognition, and can be combined with loyalty programs, apps, and in-store Wi-Fi analytics. could, in theory, be combined to build similar profiles. This is why you should not bring your phone into the store. You should also never have your Wi-Fi or your Bluetooth or your location services on your phone at all unless specifically actively using them. Okay, there's no simple privacy hack to get your way out of a system that can turn your body into a tracking ID, and that's really the New York City's point here, is that we have to have a means to keep people out of these systems, particularly for something as simple as buying groceries. The most effective fix is boring but powerful. Laws with teeth, regulators that actually enforce them, and stores that don't hide what they're doing. Good luck with that. So they say here you can avoid stores that openly advertise biometric scanning when there are alternatives, and support local and national efforts to regulate biometric tracking. I think the place that does this the best is Illinois. Illinois has the best biometric tracking laws on the books that I know of. And it is serious, and a person, like an individual, can sue a company directly. That is what gives it the teeth. Because if you're going in there and tracking your stuff, and I walk in the store, I think you're tracking my stuff, I'm going to sue you over it. Well, they either have to settle with you, or they have to go to court and prove that they're not tracking you. And they lose a lot. So Illinois actually has a pretty good model for that. And so that's kind of what's going on here. Now, this is where we get into Walmart secures 2 patents, as is released this week. Both of these are related to dynamic pricing. So, of course, as we mentioned, they unveiled these digital price tags throughout the store. And on their surface, I don't mind the digital price tags all that much. Maybe we need to have laws about how, like, when or how frequently you could change those. So, like, maybe a balancing law that says, hey, you may not change the prices on those tags during business hours of the stores. Now, Walmart's used to be open 24 hours, but thanks to the Kofi stupidity, then people stopped and Walmart started closing at night, and they never opened back up 24 hours, which is kind of a shame. I kind of miss the fact that we used to have 24-hour stores. We don't. 3 a.m. was an amazing place to go to the grocery store. I mean, you did not have crazy psychos all over the place. You'd go in there. There was nobody in your way. You'd go in, grab what you need, get out really fast. I kind of miss that. But, hey, if they're not going to be open all night, at least pass a law that says prices may not be changed while the store is open, period. Any evidence that there, and maybe you need to keep a log of all price changes. That way we can see them, make sure you're not doing it. Now, what they're doing here is they're developing the algorithmic tools to shape how it sets prices, even as U.S. lawmakers intensively scrutinize the data-driven pricing in grocery and retail. So what Walmart says is, hey, we're only using this for markdowns. Hey, at least tell me something that sounds believable. Markdowns? What are you talking about? Automated markdowns and machine learning-based demand forecasts. All right, there you go. And I think one of the reasons I like the price tags, like Best Buy has had these for a long time. The little tags at Best Buy, if you know how to read them, they'll actually tell you if the item is in stock. So if the shelf is empty and there's still a green check mark on the price of the item, they have some in the store somewhere. Find a salesman. But if you look at that tag and the shelf is empty and there's a little red X on the bottom of the tag, they're out of stock. You don't have to waste your time finding the salesman. Right. So the fact that these price tags, they could be some time savers. They could be a legitimate tool, but they do have a possibility of getting abused. And I think that is certainly a problem. So Walmart says the new systems are not designed for surge or individualized pricing, but their capabilities arrive at the moment when lawmakers are moving to restrict those practices. So we just got a bunch of patents. They rely on us being able to change prices really quickly, but they're not for the bad purposes. They're only for the good purposes, not for the bad purposes. Okay. As I believe that coming from Walmart. The filing describes this system can ingest data on purchases, historic prices, methods of payment, and customer identifiers such as passport or driver's license numbers, and then generate recommendations for merchant teams. That sounds a whole lot to me like surveillance pricing. Oh, that is surveillance pricing. Anytime you are saying, hey, here's a product and here's the IDs of the people who buy them. No, like Walmart doesn't need my driver's license number. I mean, unless I am driving through their store, which I'm not going to, they do not need my driver's license number. It should be completely patently illegal for Walmart to possess my driver's license. What are we doing in this world? Government, are y'all sitting? No, they're not asleep at the wheel. They're drunk at the wheel. We should have breathalyzers before votes, right? And if enough congressional members are not sober to vote, I guess the law doesn't get a chance to vote, you know. Let's see. The company has characterized its new pricing tools as mechanisms to manage markdowns and inventory more efficiently. That's right. It's managing markdowns for all of those people that we know historically what they buy, their methods of payment, their identifiers like their passports or driver's license, and then generate recommendations. It's Walmart. The recommendations, the price is going to go up. Lawmakers in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Minnesota have introduced measures aimed at banning or limiting dynamic pricing in supermarkets and other grocery outlets, reflecting the concerns that prices could jump in response to demands or spikes on individual shopping data. Hey, at least my state's over there trying to ban or limit dynamic pricing. That's good. Maryland Governor Wes Moore's proposed protection for predatory pricing apps, which would prohibit both dynamic pricing and the use of surveillance data to inform individual food prices. Just ban the data broker industry. Really? All right. So 2 Democratic U.S. senators have introduced legislation to bar electric shelf labels in large grocery stores. A proposal backed by United Food and Commercial Workers International Union, whose members see some pricing label tasks automated away. And now, of course, these guys don't like it because it takes jobs, which it's true, it does. I'm not sure. I don't know. Do I care if we ban the electronic shelf labels? Not really. I just think we need regulation about when and how they can be changed. There's a thought. All right, so they're not doing surveillance pricing in the stores yet that I know of. I haven't seen evidence of it. However, there are ways of adjusting things that could. And that is this new thing that is being pushed out. So I actually found an article how this works on WikiHow, of all places. And this is relating to many stores now. I know here in State College, there's the Giant brand of stores. And I forget exactly which big name label that's part of, but the Giant brand of stores, they actually have these systems. So you basically can go in, scan your card, which links to your payment method, and then you walk around the store with a little pricing gun, and you just zap, zap, zap your thing in there, and then you push the button on the thing when you're done, it charges your card, and you walk out of the store. You don't even need to go up to the register. And as these types of things are happening, this is the way a in-person grocery store could do surveillance pricing, because that shopper's card is connected to a bunch of data that is augmented by a bunch of other data broker data, like your passport or driver's license number, and all sorts of other things it already knows about you. And so you go to the store and you find the little pricing guns, and then you scan your card, which identifies exactly who you are. Now you're going to walk around the store and you're going to scan everything that you throw in your cart with this device. Now, the only caveat to what I'm saying here is the stores would have to not have price tags on items. So that's really the pain point here. Or these digital price tags could sense you coming. If they sense only a single person is coming, they could maybe change the price before you get there. That is a possibility, but I find it really hard. But the reason I think you could accomplish surveillance pricing with this method is because this thing is keeping a live tally of what you scan exactly when you scan it. This is what I think could do. All right, so basically you walk around with a gun, you scan it, and then you, at the final one, you go in and you do your, you push your button, you buy it, and then you just kind of walk on out. I think in this case here, there's a cashier, and you basically hand it over. They look at it. There's a couple different methods I've seen. This one here suggests that you're paying the cashier. I have seen these proposed where you're paying directly with a payment method in the store. And so this is, I think, how surveillance pricing could actually be accomplished using these. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts about all of that. Are you concerned? What type of laws would you like to see passed, if anything at all? Let me know all that in the comments down below.